I want to thank everybody for joining us on this Customer Connect event. Today, we're going to talk about how to automate your NetBeez monitoring events with API. So I have another host with me today. I'm really excited about that. Most of you do probably already know me from previous Customer Connect events. But those of you that do not, my name is Stevie, and I'm a customer success engineer here at NetBeez. And with me today, I have Panickos. He is the CTO of NetBeez, and he will be giving me a really big help today. Thank you very much, Panickos, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity to show off some of the work we've been doing with the APIs. Yeah.
Awesome, no problem. Thanks for helping out because this is something I'm still doing a lot of learning with myself. So the agenda, let me go full screen here. The agenda is going to be broken down into mostly demo, but we do want to talk a little about some of the use cases. Then we will go into the demo. That'll take up a bulk of today's Customer Connect event. And then a few things I want to touch on with the community page. We've actually written quite a few articles about different API use cases and some things you can do with that. And then we'll finish up with the Q&A. As I mentioned, I will follow up next week with the recording as well as a link to the slide deck as well. So a couple of quick use cases. The main one, or the one we're talking about today, is about how to automate your workflow. So in this case, it's going to be about building and executing scripts, such as specialized tasks like creating targets, maintaining agents, stuff like that. And the other one is about reacting to certain events. So when there's an incident, boom, automatically run an ad hoc speed test, being able to automate in that regard. Another use case that's really interesting, we've seen a lot of our customers start to do, is being able to pull data into a centralized system, such as Grafana or Datadog. That allows them to make customized charts and pull all the data into their dashboard. They're going to have a lot of different tools in their toolkit. Being able to see the NetBeez data in those dashboards is really useful. And then the last section I call miscellaneous because it's kind of a catch-all. But there's some one-off things like, for example, it's not listed here, but exporting your agent view to a CSV, using a script for that, or removing multiple agents from the dashboard. In the case of if you have like remote worker agents, that's really useful. If you have 1,000 agents in your deployment, for example, one of the things you can do is run a script that will remove agents that have been offline for more than 30 days. You can run it every 30 days. You're re-imaging laptops. People are moving departments. People are departing and joining the company. So it allows you to reclaim licenses for deployment in the future. But again, we're going to focus on automating workflow today. And with that, I will turn it over to Panickos. Take it away.
Thank you, Stevie, for that introduction. Yeah, so we have a couple of cases that we wanted to go through. I think I'm only going to have time to do one since we're going to be writing some code from scratch just to show you the process start to finish. So the first one is how to run an ad hoc network speed test. So what we're going to do is build a script that we'll call it NB network speed. It's going to take one input, which is the agent name that you want to search for. So basically the use case is that you want to run an ad hoc speed test on an agent using the script that we're providing here. So basically bypassing the dashboard. And the way you would do that is by inputting a search string for the agent name. And our script is going to first fetch, do the search on the API, on the agent's endpoint to fetch all the agent IDs. Then all the agent IDs that match the search string that you provided. It will then request a speed test to run on those agents that match the string. And then it's going to run through a loop to continuously poll the API to get the results of that specific run request. So the API is used for this script is going to be the agents API, which is the agents collection in order to look up for the agents. Then it's going to do a post request on the multi-agent test run for an ad hoc test. And then is going to be polling the API on the multi-agent NB test run endpoint. So now let me go to the my browser here just to show you where we have those APIs. The links from the presentation is going to take you here to our documentation. So first we have the agents endpoint here, where basically we are going to use the name attribute here in order to identify the agents. And then we're going to go down to the tests API, where we're going to use the multi-agent NB test runs /ad-hoc endpoint to request the speed test. So here is an example of the payload. So it looks like this. It has the data type multi-agent NB test run, and then some attributes regarding the speed test you're requesting. And then in the relationships, you add which specific agents you want to run this test. And then on the test type, we have here in this case is ID7, which is the ID for a network speed test. And then once we do the request, we're going to get a response back with the ID of the actual run. And we're going to use that run ID to then query back the API using the attribute for the multi-agent test run in order to get, so here is the filter we're going to use, where we're going to input the run ID and get back in the results the actual run, and eventually we'll have the test results. In order to include the test results in the response, we'll need to include this query variable. All right, so let's go and write some code. So let me share my code editor here. So we're going to be writing in Python. And so in order to do that, let's see which is our Python, where is the Python executable. So we're going to use that here on the top of this new script that I'm calling nb network speed .py for Python. So we're going to add this here, user local bin Python 3.9. And then for the setup, in terms of like setting up some variables to access the API, we're going to set the base URL. So I'm going to set that to my localhost, which is where I'm running a server instance. So in your case, this would be your NetBeez instance. Let's say it could be HTTPS demo.netbeezcloud.net. And then in the headers, we're going to set the authorization variables, where we will have the bearer token, and we're going to use a variable to set the token. So in order to get the token, we're going to get it from the as an environment from the environment variables. Let me refresh my memory here how to do that. So we get the token basically from the OS library, get in and be token. Because I have that already here, I got it from my dashboard in the API's setting. I generated a new key and I exported it as an environment variable in my environment here. So then for the search string, we are going to get it from the arguments. So read the first argument from the command line. So in order to do that, we import a system, and then we get the agent search as a from the variables, the first variable. So let's do that, and then let's do a print to see how we're doing so far. So let's see here. I'm gonna make the file unexecutable, and then I'm gonna run it. Network speed, and then this is the search string that I'm printing here. So we can see that we are reading the search screen correctly. So now let's use that search string and do the actual request. So let's put the response of the request in a variable, and then we're gonna use, so what we are using here is the URL. So we're using the base URL at the agent's endpoint. We use the type beta variable. We're gonna be phasing that out eventually. So that's just, boilerplate. Then we're gonna use the stubbed equals true so that we don't really get more data than we need. So we just need to get the agent IDs basically from this thing. And so we're gonna use the agent search variable as the filter name. We use verify false so we avoid the errors with the certificate errors. So let's go and read the response. It's going to be a JSON response. So, and then we can, let's do a print of whatever is returned. Missing the JSON library there. So let's see what this will do up to now. So in my dashboard, I have an agent called Data Center Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna search for the word Pittsburgh and see what's gonna come back. So here we can see we got some warnings about the certificate, but it's not throwing an error, it's just a warning. And we can suppress that later. So this is what was returned. We have in the data, we have the ID of the agent, the type, that is an agent stub. And then in the attributes, I have all the details of the agent, including the name here that, as I said before, I have an agent named Data Center Pittsburgh. And basically some other basic information like the IP addresses of the interfaces, so on. So in this case, it matched one agent, as you can see. So let's get that agent and put it in an array. So we have agent IDs, then we get the from the response, we get the data, which is here, and then for each data item, which is an agent, we get the ID and put it in agent IDs. So now let's remove this. And let's print the agent IDs here. Let's see what that will print out. And here we have it is an array of the agent IDs that get matched. Now, if I do data center, I have two data center agents. So if I just do data center here as the search, I get two agents. The one that was data center Pittsburgh and then another one that I have there. So we can keep using the data center string since just to show you that we can run the test on multiple agents. All right, so now that we have the agent IDs, we can start writing the payload to define the payload to request the network speed test. So the payload will have a data. So this is the payload as we saw it on the documentation page for the multi-agent test run. So here my AI assistant is providing with all the details. So we have the type multi-agent test run, and in the attributes we have speed test type 2. This is for the NDT basically. And then we leave the target empty. We're not specifying which NDT server to run. The agent will decide on itself. And then on the relationships, we define which agents we want the test to run on. So we basically extract the IDs from the array, and for each ID in the array, we create this object here, which has the ID of the agent and then a type of agent. And then finally, in the relationships, we add another object here. This is a test type. In this case, the ID is 7 to denote that this is a network speed test. So this is our payload. And let's do the response. Oops, response equals post request to the base URL, multi-agent NB test runs / ad-hoc, since that's the name of the endpoint. I'm going to use the same headers. We're going to add the payload. I'm going to go verify false, and then let's get the response as a JSON. And let's print it out and see what that will give us. All right, let's see where we're at now. So if I rerun this, so we got the two agent IDs, and then here is the response from our request to run the multi-agent test run. So we got here an ID for the test run and some other attributes like the timestamp, the state, which the initial state is initialization. And that's the attribute that we're going to be monitoring when we enter the loop for polling the multi-agent test run, to make sure that we are looking at the state as it changes until it reaches the completed state. And that's when we will be getting results back. And here we can see that the two agents that were requested are the 121 and 122. So up to here, we are able to get the actual request to run the speed test. And let's put the test run ID into a variable from the data that was returned. so that we can use it to query, to start polling in the while loop. Now, since we're going to be doing a few requests, let's go up here.
I passed it. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Oh. All right, let me go outside and clean up.
Okay. Just muted there. Okay, so let's add here just to something to suppress the warnings. So warnings. So it's gonna be ignoring the insecure request basically. That way we don't see all those errors or messages. So now we're gonna go ahead and run the while loop. So while true, we're gonna save the response of the request where we are basically requesting from the NB test runs. We're gonna filter on the multi-agent NB test run ID. And we are also going to include the results. We're gonna use the same headers and verify false for the certificates. And then let's get the data back into response JSON. And then let's print the data. And then from the attributes, we are getting the state basically here, which is this guy here. Just so we know what's the state of the test with each iteration. And then we are basically going to be looking when the state is set to completed, then we're going to break out of the loop. Otherwise, we're going to do a time.sleep for 5 seconds. And that's going to be, it's going to keep doing that until we are done. Let's import time here. So that will finish our loop for checking. And then let's get the results back from the data, which is going to be in the included object. And then we're going to print JSON comments, the results to see how it looks. All right, let's see where this will take us now. So we're going to run it again. So that gave us the new run ID, but we get in a failed. Let's just run it. Let's see why it fails. Let's just run it on one agent. Let's bring all the data here just to see more details. I'm not quite sure why it's failing now. It looks like we might be using the wrong ID. All right, in any case, let me run the same script. I might be missing something on the script. Let me run the script that I had completed earlier that was running and see if that's gonna give us the, okay, yeah, maybe I have some typo here, but the point here is that we got the Pittsburgh agent, we got the multi-agent test run request here with that one agent, and then it started to monitor here the results, the response. So we're currently in the start sources stage. Now it went into the running stage, so now it's running the test on the agent. And eventually, once it completes, we're going to get the results back. All right, so here you see that the state isn't completed. And then the ID, we have the scheduled test result. So here we are just printing out the results. So we have here, this is the result ID actually, and then we have the timestamp, and then the actual result values of the network speed run. So we have the download, the latency, and the upload speed. And then here is the agent's ID of this, where these results correspond to. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this script. And I'm not sure if there are any questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask any questions, feel free.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm curious about, you don't need to, show us in the whole details. I know it'll take a little bit of time, but is there any way to automate this to run automatically? I think one of the things I mentioned was like if there's something within a dashboard, like an incident or something that triggers, was there any way to automatically run this without having to execute the script manually?
Yeah, so one of the things we started that we released in version 13 was the ability to integrate with webhooks. So here, if you go into the integrations, you can set up a webhook where this, it's a URL where it's listening for events from NetBeez. So you will get a webhook incident coming in to your webhook URL, and that can trigger this script that I just showed, that will run a speed test, and you can save the results in some database, or depending on what integration you're looking to accomplish, you can take those results and push them to another dashboard or a ticketing system or whatever it is you want to integrate with. So the flow would be that from NetBeez to the webhook will trigger the network speed test, will get the results, and then that will do further actions down the line.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if there's anything else in the chat.
I know we are a little bit over time already, so I'm just going to go through quickly, unless there are any questions. Let me know.
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. So the other case we were looking to show off was creating monitoring targets through the API. So basically, you could encode your monitoring configuration into a set of files or a set of scripts where you can have your script create some necessary agent groups, and then you define your target definitions, like different SAS targets, different target templates, or custom targets, which are the 3 types available on the dashboard now to configure. And your script can do requests to the target's endpoint and create those targets automatically for you. And then the script could also have some follow-up actions where it adds agents and agent groups into those targets. This is a more involved algorithm to go through, but I'm just gonna show you the few endpoints that we have available now for performing these tasks. So let's go back to my browser, where we have here those APIs. Basically, the first one is the agent groups. So here you can create an agent group using this payload and this endpoint here. You don't need to specify the agent IDs right now, but or the target IDs at the time of the creation. You can set the auto assign to true in order to get any new agents connected to your instance automatically assigned to this agent group that you create here. And then to create the targets, you can use the targets SAS, targets / target template, or plain targets to configure the targets you want. So here we have a couple of examples of how to create a SAS target. So in this case, this is for the Google Docs application. Within the request, you can specify which agents to include or which agent groups. Then on the target template, you can choose either a website where you define the URL, the name, if you want to have a ping test included, and jitter and MOS enabled. It could be a DNS target where you set the name servers and the FQDNs, the FQDN you want to validate for those DNS services. If it's a VPN target, you can set it up like that, and the gateway target where you set the ping interval. All similar to how it's done on the dashboard, basically. It maps kind of one-to-one. And here you can choose the agents and the groups. And then for the custom target, which is completely, it gives you full flexibility to set up ping test, DNS test, trace route, and HTTP. You basically set up the name of the target, relationships, again, agent groups and agents. And then you set an array of test templates, which is basically tells the system about what ping tests to include. Here is a DNS test. This is an HTTP test. And this is a trace route test. Now, I'm gonna let Stevie go over the community part and so on, where we are gonna be happy to answer any questions about how to set up all these targets and how to set up your environment to use the APIs. So yeah, thank you on my side. Go ahead, Stevie, all yours.
Perfect. Thanks for going over all that. Seems really cool. A lot of possibilities with the API. Probably a lot that still need to be explored by a lot of people. So really appreciate that. But yeah, as Panickos said, the community page is really growing pretty quickly. Not only what we're posting, but we've gotten some pretty good community engagement. Particularly, there's a post about voting on some features. We wanted to get some feedback from the community about voting on what features bring in 14. So we have selected some, and we'll be discussing that in the near future. But definitely still vote on that. That'll give us some good long-term ideas on what the community is looking for from NetBeez in the future. But more importantly, API. So one of the things that's been requested a lot was people want to take the agent view and they want to export it to like an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV or something, because everybody likes a worksheet to keep track of things, keep tabs on things. And that's something that you can do with a script. It's actually not very difficult. I've done it myself. I've done it the Google Sheets version. That way, there's also a community post about that. Another one, especially when you're troubleshooting information, downloading path analysis results is also really useful to try to understand some routing issues you might be encountering. As we kind of mentioned today quite a bit, running ad hoc network speed test is written on there as well. And I did allude to, and this one, again, has been asked about a lot, especially from our remote worker deployments, removing a bunch of agents from the dashboard in one go. Once you have that script built and you configure the time period, you can just run it in whatever interval you want to keep your dashboard as clean as it possibly can. And the one benefit with that and the way NetBeez works is if you accidentally remove an agent that maybe you shouldn't have, it will pop up again in the future once that agent comes online, as long as you don't blacklist it. So even if you do delete it and say that person was like, on a leave of absence or something like that, you don't have to worry about reinstalling it. It just simply removes it from the dashboard. So that's pretty cool. With that, I think we went through most of the questions and we went really over, and I do apologize for that. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us at success@netbeez.net. And again, I will be sending this out to everybody that attended, signed up, and everybody that was invited, so you guys can reference it in the future. With that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And Panickos, thank you again for presenting today.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.